G'day, it's Cam from CraftyCAD.com here with an introductory series to using Google SketchUp. In these videos I'll be showing you start to finish, step by step, how to create a simple woodworking project in SketchUp. When we first run Google SketchUp, we get this window here, which is a Welcome to SketchUp window, which gives us links to some tutorials, help, etc. I'm going to use this window to actually set my template. Out of the box, Google SketchUp comes with a bunch of preset templates, metric units, imperial units, architectural, product design. So I'm going to be working in metric units, so I'm going to click on product design and woodworking, millimeters, and then I'm going to click start using SketchUp. Now if you've already closed that window without choosing your template, you can set it now by going up to Window, Preferences, and then click on Template, and all of those templates are in here, so you can just click on that and then hit OK. Okay, so let's take a look at some of the tools we have available in SketchUp. By default we're put into the line tool, which is the pencil icon. The pencil icon is used to draw lines anywhere in space, so if I just click a point and move my mouse, you can see there's a line connecting the point that I clicked to the cursor. If I drag that line along parallel to the green axis, you can see the line turns green. If I drag it parallel to the red axis, you can see it turns red. And if I drag it parallel to the blue axis, you can see it turns blue. So I'm just going to click somewhere along this green axis, and you can see it's drawn a solid line. Now it will continue drawing lines from the last point you clicked until you hit escape, at which point you can draw a new line from any other point. If we draw a series of lines that connect, it will turn into a surface or a face. Now this is the basic building block of SketchUp. In SketchUp, a surface or a face is pretty much any closed shape. So using the line tool is a great way to create complicated shapes. We've also got a rectangular tool, which is an easy way to create squares or rectangles with just 2 clicks. So if I click somewhere on the screen and move my cursor out, you can see it draws a box between those 2 points. Now you'll also see as I drag out, you get a dashed line across the middle of the box, and if I just leave the mouse there for a second, you can see it pops up and says square, which means that the shape I'm drawing is a perfect square. If I drag it out a bit more, I get another dashed line, which is the golden section, which is a ratio which is supposedly aesthetically pleasing. Or I can just drag out any other square or rectangle shape. So if I snap that to square and click my button, it will draw a square shape. Now that's a closed surface. Similarly with the circle, I can just click, drag out my radius, and click again, and that will give me a new surface. And an arc tool is similar to the line tool in that it doesn't give you a closed surface, but it just draws lines which can be connected into a surface. You can combine these, so with the arc tool and the rectangle tool I can create a shape like that, or with a line tool and a rectangle tool I can create another complex shape. So the basics of SketchUp is creating these shapes or surfaces, which will then turn into 3-dimensional objects. Okay, so the easiest way to make a 3D object from a 2D surface in SketchUp is to use the push-pull tool. So if you move your cursor over the box with the arrow pointing up and click on it, it enables the push-pull tool. So the way the push-pull tool works is when you hover over a surface, you can see it gets that shaded hatch on it. If we click on a surface and move our mouse up or down, it actually pushes that surface or extrudes it into a 3D shape. So if I click again, it turns that into a 3D cylinder. Now this works only on a surface, a fully enclosed shape. So as you can see with these complex shapes, it will only push or pull a single shape. which is a great way to make complicated 3D objects. Now I'm going to hit Ctrl Z and undo all of those push-pulls, because I want this shape to be extruded as a single object. Now as you can see, when I push and pull it, it extrudes those as separate objects. So I'm going to go up and click on the eraser tool, and I'm going to click on the line that's separating those shapes. Now you can see that line's gone, but I've kept my surface as a single surface. So now when I click back on the push-pull tool, hover over that surface and click, it will extrude that as a single shape. Now you need to be a bit wary when erasing lines, because if you erase a line that's enclosing a shape, you can see the surface will actually disappear. So you just need to keep that in mind when you're erasing lines. If you ever find you've got an open shape, you can just draw a line from endpoint to endpoint, which will close the shape again for you. SketchUp is great in that it offers you a wide range of snapping options when you're drawing your lines. So as you can see, when I'm using my line tool and hovering over some of these shapes or lines, it gives me snap points such as the end point or the midpoint of a line. So if I wanted to divide that line in half, I can click on the midpoint and drag it straight across. It's got snaps for snapping perpendicular to an edge. It's got snaps for quadrants on arcs and circles. It's got snaps for the center point of a circle. It's even got snaps on faces, so I can snap to the midpoint of that face. So it makes it a lot easier when you're doing complicated shapes that you need to make sure are closed, so you can snap from endpoints and midpoints. Now I'll give you a quick rundown of how the select tool works in SketchUp. So you get to the select tool by clicking on the arrow icon in the upper left hand corner, or you can just hit space, which will default put you back into the select tool. There's two different methods for selecting in SketchUp. If I click and drag from left to right, I get a solid selection box. Now this works by selecting everything that's fully inside this box. So if I fully enclose this shape over here and let go, it'll select that whole shape. If I drag a box around half of it, it won't select anything because that shape is not fully enclosed in the box. If I only want to select this arc face here of this complex shape, if I click and drag from left to right and only enclose that arc and I let go, you can see it's only selected that. If I drag a box around that whole shape, you can see it selects the whole thing. The other way to select in SketchUp is from clicking and dragging from right to left. Now you see you get a dashed selection box with this one. This one will select any object that is enclosed in the box or that the box is touching. So if I just draw a box that covers part of this shape over here and let go, you can see it actually selects it. If I draw a shape around the arc here and let go, you can see it actually selects the line that was touching it as well as the surface. So those are the two main methods for selecting objects in SketchUp. There's just one more important thing we need to cover with the select tool, and that's clicking on an object to select it. So if I click on a face, it will select that face. If I click on a line, it will select the line. That works for surfaces or 3D objects. So anything I click on, it will just select that single item. If I double click on a face, it will select the face and all of its edges. So I'm double clicking on each of these objects and you can see it's picking the face and any of its enclosing edges. Now if I triple click on an object, it actually selects everything that's connected to the object that I clicked on. So when you've got a 3D object, if I triple click on it, it will select all of the faces and all of the edges that are connected to that object. Now this also works for faces that are just connected to a 3D object. So now I've joined this object to this face here, so when I triple click, it selects all of this because they're connected by these edges. So that's really the last thing to cover with the select tool, so we'll get onto the project.